we are really reaching out also to the patient. And I think what we really have to keep in mind is that data privacy of the patient. Then that people are doing this at the moment in their private life, but clinical trials are another environment. And to have the good balance, that you protect really also the trial participants in their privacy, but comply also with the regulations and get the data. So it must be a balance between all of this.
There's some really, really good stuff in the pipeline. There's probably a couple kids in a garage someplace that are coming up with something amazing. I think that the two that are the most interesting to watch right now is definitely the stuff on labels. Electronic labels is one of those wonderful things that is going to allow us to connect our smartphones to the cloud, which will allow us to go ahead and start making the labels much easier to read for patients, to actually go ahead and get all the information they need directly off their phones, to go ahead and actually eliminate the expiry dates, which would be wonderful. And that is a huge issue that we have coming up with the clinical trial regulation. So we've got that. And even the ability to just take as many words off the label as humanly possible and use pictograms allows us to go into all these different countries without having to come up with all these labels on all of our clinical supply kits. So that's going to be amazing, and they're like on cutting edge, and it's going to be interesting to see where they're at and how fast they evolve and get regulatory approval. So that's one. The other one, interestingly enough, is in the world of all of our new concepts for shipping and distribution for temperature control. There's all kinds of amazing stuff going on out there, and they range from stuff that goes ahead and protects our goods in a passive way for up to a week to get into different countries throughout the world, and ultimately gets smaller so that when it gets to the clinical sites it takes up less room. Another one that I find absolutely fascinating is something from Intellectual Ventures, which is a company out in Washington State in the US. And it's actually the CEO of that was like the Chief Innovation Officer from Microsoft. And what's amazing is this device, they used the same concepts that they used for the space shuttle in terms of protecting the astronauts from the freezing cold of space. And they've used that to actually help out, where vaccines can now be stored in sub-Saharan Africa for up to a month with ice. And that's amazing, because if we can do that, then places where we have no infrastructure can go ahead and still be able to vaccinate their kids, go ahead and protect them from some of these horrible diseases that shorten their lifespans. So that's just some of the amazing technology that's out there, and there's so much more, but we just don't even have time to talk about it.
There's good stuff going on. We're talking about simulation. We're talking about just-in-time manufacturing, just-in-time labeling. These are all things that are going to continue to sort of help us get better at doing our jobs, to make sure that we're producing the right amount of product, that we're saving money, we're doing good things for patients. So those sorts of technological advances, I think, are really they're exciting. It's good.
The conference, I think, has been going really well. There's been some wonderful presentations and some great questions, some great comments. There's a couple things in terms of, what do you need to do in terms of better partnering with your vendor and sponsor? What are the things that both of them need to do? The other piece that's also important is, what do each of them need to do to collaborate better and actually be successful together? One of the things that was interesting was we had a great panel discussion on how do you handle multiple vendors, and the answer to that was to bring them all together as often as humanly possible to go ahead and identify risks, but also to make sure everybody is understanding what everyone's roles and responsibilities are and how to go ahead and do that. And the other one, of course, is transparency. What was brought up was precision and transparency and communication. Those stuck out in my mind, and those were really, really good solutions. We talked about comparator sourcing and how to get better control of that, and really get better control of the supply chain, especially with regards to how well the automotive industry is doing it, and they have wild demands as well. For us, it's a matter of using some of their ideas and also collaborating with clinical operations to get very clear forecasting needs, come up with as much transparency as possible for 12 months, and then really lock it in about 3 months. If we could do that, the outcomes would be amazing. Those were some of the great discussions we've had today, and as well as going into Africa and some of the challenges there. It's been a great day, and it's going to be an even better day tomorrow.